Welcome to Tetewathá Party Line Talk Show on K1037. Arlene Jacobs. I'm your host for today. MCK. Today is MCK Friday. My guest is Chief Cody Diabo. Welcome, Cody.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you could make it with all this snow.
Yes, it's getting quite bad out there.
It is. So how's everything been going for you?
Things have been going. Trying to get a few projects on the works. Everything's kind of just not in paper form. There's one that hoping to be bringing to the table very soon. I've talked about it before on the show there. It's the aquaponics. Mm-hmm. So I'm really just hoping to kind of get that moving along and just seeing what the community, what they feel about a project being undertaken like this by the MCK. Just anybody's interest in it. I am actually quite curious. I was going to be setting up a kiosk today. I planned on it at the beginning of the week, but then once I seen the weather calling for a big storm, I decided not to book it because I figured everybody's probably going to be staying home.
No, for sure.
Yes, so it was just to kind of see, kind of the support for a project like this, community's input. I am on Facebook if people want to send me a message on how they feel about doing kind of indoor farming year-round. Also, anybody kind of interested possibly working in a building like this, it'd be nice to kind of know beforehand before we kind of make the decision. So that's why I was going to be setting up a kiosk hopefully soon. I have to see next week, maybe the week after. My schedule's getting quite filled now with all the different not issues, but the things that is required of me as a council chief.
So how is it being a council chief? You've been there, 3 months about?
Yeah.
Thank you for being here twice in the 3 months.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to be I don't want to say out there as much as possible, but visible, that's the word.
Visible in the community.
Visible in the community. I came in halfway through, so I feel like I have a lot of ground to catch up on, and that's why I'm trying to initiate a lot of different projects. Mm-hmm. Again, now is the perfect time because not much building could be done right now, so at least if we can get the theory and the on-paper stuff moving along.
Okay, so excuse me. What about your portfolios, your current portfolio? You're on environment, mm-hmm. You're on Kahnawake Golf Club, you're on lands and territories. Mm-hmm. So what's going on at the Recreation Bay and Tetewathá Island? There was a tour for contractors the other day. Yeah. How did that go?
I haven't checked in quite yet on how that went. I know there was a few bids. I know they put it out there. Yesterday we were at a environment strategic all day. Mm-hmm. So that's looking very very promising also, given that KIPO is a new unit. Mm-hmm. KIPO is the Kahnawake Environment Protection Office.
Thank you.
I won't use acronyms as much anymore.
You get so used to doing that mm-hmm. You think everybody knows what you're talking about, and people do not know. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So there was about over 30 people in attendance at the Golden Age yesterday for the Environment Office is strategic, and it's really going to pave the way on what their structure in the next maybe 5 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. Again, being a new unit, getting unit status back in 2018, getting their mandate. Now it's to kind of do the fine tuning to see, where they're going to be and how they're going to look in the mm-hmm. next 5 to 10 years. So we haven't touched base quite yet on kind of what happened the other day with the tour. But I know that's moving along. They're going to start doing that this year. I know last year it was kind of a bit late in the season when we were hoping to start. Mm-hmm. But hopefully this year we get some good bids and we can begin that project.
So can you update the community on what this tour was all about and the Recreation Bay? What's going to happen to it this year?
Well, to my knowledge, the tour was mostly just to show the contractors, I guess, where the work needs to be. I guess a generalized outlook to get a visible feel of how it is. I mean, it's one thing to put it on paper and show maps, but until you're actually there, you know, you don't really see kind of what you're working with. I mean, even with the maps that you have now, like even with Google Maps, there's a lot of things that you miss, you know, the just slight ground elevations, you know, distances. You don't really get a full picture until you're there.
So the recreation bay is the old Johnson's Beach area. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's that whole area between the island and I guess the bike path on the other side there. That whole area, that's what's looking to,
Okay.
I don't want to say revamp, but the water does slow in there, and it does cause for some issues.
Like fish habitat.
Turtle breeding, you know, even just, I remember just growing up, there's been times where, you know, there were advisories saying don't go in the water because of the stagnation. So it's really to try to be able to help the water flow easier too, and keep water flowing, because once water stops moving, that's when you get the stagnant and all the other health issues that come with stagnant water.
What is the environmental sustainability project that you're working on, or you gave an update on at council?
Oh, the environmental sustainability project. It's an overall kind of. It's got different moving parts to it in general. So I'm looking at trying to look at moving us more towards sustainability. With various different projects, being self-sufficient as much as we can. I think that's the way the entire world is going. So again, like I brought up just a few moments ago, the aquaponics there, the indoor farming, that's one thing. Another thing I'm looking at right now is solar-powered lights. My goal, I'm hoping to try to get, at least for this summer, is the bike paths and the different walking trails that we have in town lit.
Oh, it's a really good idea, because there's so many people that walk, you know.
And it's not, they're early in the morning, they're late at night, especially in the summertime. Nobody wants to start jogging, you know, when it's 35 degrees plus humidity, you know, so, and then again in the summertime, the weather's still nice, so when it is dark out, that's maybe when you want to take a walk. But given the dark and dangerous, you know, kind of feel of it, especially the ones that extend off the 207 on the side of the bridge, underneath the bridge by Tiffany Morris's memorial site, all that area, you know, it's kind of, I don't want to say the word sketchy, but you know,
it is actually, because you never know who's in those bushes. I mean, there are bushes and trees and you know, whatever. You
know, when I was a PK, I used to always slow down and put my side lights on. You know, not that I could really see through the bush, but you know, at least to
you could probably scare someone.
Yeah, if something is happening, you know, maybe you would hear something. So, I'm hoping to try to get those kind of areas lit. There's a company that's out of Magog that I'm in contacts with, so I'm just waiting on some quotes for them. These lights are all independent. They're on their own little kind of microgrid because they have their own little solar panel. The lights, the batteries for them are good for 10 years. The solar panels itself are good for about 15 years. And then the LED lights itself are good for about 20 years.
So you're talking about lights. Are they going to be on poles?
Yeah, it would be on a pole. Probably like if you go into Montreal or even just neighboring communities with the lights that are on the
aluminum poles.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it's like going to be like a slender kind of black pole. On the top of it will be the solar panel, and then the light extends out over the path. And they have settings in there where you can say have 100% of like the output from say 8 to 11, and then from 11 till 4 in the morning you can power it down to about 40% output, and then during the day when the sun comes up they shut off and then it charges the whole time. This company's actually they've done some lights in Chateauguay and they've done some places in Beaconsfield. Sorry. So they're really adept to the climate also, which is quite handy. And I would like to push it. They have checked because they can do street lights also. They prefer doing a whole kind of brand new pole. Unfortunately, we're kind of stuck with these wooden ones. But they can retrofit the poles. There'd be more work involved in that again. we do have about, I had checked with Public Works, 604 street lights in Kahnawake. That's powered through the hydro, and that's a bill that comes in every month. So if we can try to reduce that in some way too, and start doing the push towards more renewable energies. So that's just some of the projects that I'm working on in the sustainability. Trying to partner with KIPO with that. They're very supportive. Again, KIPO being a brand new kind of unit, we're still figuring things out with them too. Like I said, the strategic that we just had yesterday, hopefully all these things will play into a role in KIPO in the future. But in the meantime, if I can, start the groundwork and get some of these things rolling.
Very good. We're going to take a break, a few minutes.
Come out to Kahnawake Mohawk Bingo. When it comes to bingo, we have something.
And we're back. This is MCK Friday, and we're talking to Chief Cody Diabo about all the things he's working on right now: solar lighting, environmental sustainability, and with the Kahnawake Environment Protection Office, which is a new unit, I suppose. And we're going to be continuing with this topic. Okay, Cody, would you like to continue?
Yeah. One of the initiatives I'm pushing right now, I believe it's right there. We're just kind of waiting just for some last minute input. Is I wanted to try to see about getting a electric bus for the local school runs. There is a company out of St. Jerome. It's called Lion Electric. They make electric buses. I've talked to a few companies in Montreal right now who have purchased quite a few of them in the last, just this year, and they've ordered the one company, Transco, out of LaSalle. They have 5, and they're just purchasing 11 more for the new kind of fiscal year 2020. So I'm hoping, I do know that we need to acquire two more buses for this year, so I'm hoping that maybe one of them could be an electric bus that we can use on local runs and try to push that kind of reducing carbon emissions, again too, saving cost on fuel. Fuel's not getting any cheaper, so if we can start making that drive for them. And I've been hearing some good things about it from the recent buyers there. The one is Transco, and the one at kind of almost downtown Montreal, I forget the name of it, but they've purchased I think almost 10. So just waiting to hear back from them on their input. But the one out of LaSalle, they're speaking very highly of the electric buses. So.
And the electric buses, they would take how long to recharge?
Well, it's
like at an overnight recharge.
Well, you could. They have kind of set up where it would take only about 5 hours, but they it's like a slow pull, they call it, or like a slow charge. So usually Hydro-Quebec have peak hours that usually their rates kind of go a bit higher. So that's usually right at about 5 till 10 o'clock at night. That's usually when people are generally using more power. So if you plug the bus in at that point, it'll only draw so much power at a time. But in general, it takes about 4 to 5 hours, they said, from empty to fully charge the bus. So, I mean, they're good for up to, the standard ones are about 150 to 180 kilometers before it hits empty. I mean, you could get the ones that have the additional battery packs that could go up to 250 kilometers, but I think locally I'd start off small. I don't see us having to do that, but...
So you would need a special charging station then?
Well, it would go through just like a regular outlet.
Oh, okay.
So there is a certain adapter that you would kind of plug into like an extension cord, and then you would plug that into the bus. But it would just the 120 volt outlet in your house. That's what would
that would work really well with the new blue collar park.
Yeah, that's why I'm hoping to try to get at least one of them. Like I said, I know we're looking to acquire 2 more, so at least one would be very. I think it'd be a nice, good step. So
this would only be for town buses?
Yeah.
To start?
At first, yeah. Just to it's a big change too from going from a gas or diesel kind of powered vehicle to an electric vehicle. So just to kind of get used to it and for it to be visible and to show that on a large scale, we're trying to also make an impact in reducing our carbon footprint.
Is this totally electric, or does it work on gas or diesel?
The engine portion and the driving portion of it, like that, it's all electric. They do have a diesel heater. It's about an 8,000 BTU heater, and that's for the cab, so for the kids. That way.
And is it going to work?
Yeah, that's from, like I said, from what I've heard about from their buyers there, they're very happy with it.
I'm just laughing because the buses never warm up in the winter. Never. Very seldom.
Yeah.
And the kids are still freezing.
So
so is the driver.
Yeah, and so this is because the heater is specifically for just the cab and not necessarily to run the whole bus. Like I said, I've heard very good things about it, so I'm hoping to push that quite soon.
So have you spoken with the Director of Public Works?
I've spoke with him just leading up to it, just let him know this is something I'm looking for, and I mean, they're all on board too. If whatever's going to help operationally, cut costs where we can,
save money, of course.
Save money. So they're thumbs up.
I'm really interested in the solar powered lighting for the bicycle paths. About how many would you need?
Well, that's I'm waiting to see with the quote. I had the not inspector, but the woman from the company.
So you would start small. You would start with one bicycle path.
I would probably say, yeah. I was probably thinking the one from Onage to the Elders Lodge.
Yeah, that was the.
Yeah, that's the one I'm probably going to look at trying to get first. And then I think we'll try to move to the 207 one is a very long one. There are street lights, but I mean, anybody who drives on the 207 from Wolf's Den to the bridge, it's very dark. So at least if we can get those solar lights there and then have it going, the new one that was just put in all the way up to the Clay Mountains area, that would probably be the second one if possible. Again, I'm waiting on the quotes because I drove the woman around to show her where. I sent her the lengths of the bike paths. So they're going to do their figures on how far they need to put their lights and then give a quote on how much lights they would need at this time.
That's great. That would be really something for our community because everybody's getting into the healthy lifestyle and, the gardening, like your self-sustainability and, things like that. And I think that would be a great addition. Really, I would.
I've seen the lights and they look amazing and they're not... I don't think they're going to get in the way, and it's just something to have. And like we were talking about earlier, like the fact that there is no lights there to begin with and that they're dark, it kind of inhibits people from wanting to do things.
So another thing, would the lights inhibit like the turtles going on the rocks or the other animal species that are in the water?
Well, that's stuff that we'd probably have to, again, work with KIPO, the Kahnawake Environment Protection Office with, just to see if those would have any kind of impacts. Again, how we would position them. They would be shining mostly just on the path, and then how I talked about how they have the settings where they do dim in the middle of the night there, so they're not outputting so much energy. I mean, we could even have it where it shuts off completely for a few hours, but that's stuff that I guess would have to come once we get the figures and once it becomes more of a possibility of getting them.
I'm also thinking of people who do night fishing. Would that scare the fish?
Yeah, that's stuff that I guess we would have to kind of take into account, especially along that way.
Yeah.
That one is, I believe, the shortest path, so that's why I was looking at that one first. But it is the one that will probably raise the most questions too about the impact it will have on the wildlife in that area.
So is that all on the lighting aspect? Do you have anything else on that area?
No, that's pretty much it for now. Like I said just before, with the streetlights, converting them to that. I would like to kind of push that, but that one kind of seems more of a, we're not sure because the solar panels do need not direct sunlight, but they can't be like in the McGregor Farm area. That would probably be hard to install these kind of new lights for the streets just because of the wooded area. But then again, it's converting all the poles and how that would go. It would probably be more in depth and have to be looked at a lot further.
Okay. I want to switch gears a little bit here. We're going to talk about asbestos.
Okay.
To date, the soil on one lot has been removed.
Yes.
What will be the next steps in the process, like for that specific area? So that's clear now, that's finished. There's nothing else to be done on that area. And there'll be another, I'm just asking. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's something, again, probably be more best directed at the public safety port chief, Frank McCumber. That's under his
Okay,
thing.
Frank, you're on next time.
Yeah, so at this point, I can't really say what's kind of the next steps either.
Okay.
I'm kind of sitting on the working group, not as a liaison per se, but just because I'm on environment.
Because you're on environment.
Yeah, so just
you would know a little bit, but not
I know somewhat what's going on, but as far as next steps, that I'm not 100% sure on what's going to be happening next. I can only speak from, the community standpoint is that they want it all gone. So I think that's, the steps we're going to have to take to do that. It's going to be gradual steps to ensure that all happens.
And there was 43 lots in all, or around that area? 43, 42 that they're looking at?
Again, that I'm not 100% sure on. I know there is a few in that area that, there needs to be kind of looked at to see when or if or, how that's going to be remediated.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is you're going to be attending meetings on Indigenous clean energy projects, one in April, one in May, and one in July. What is that going to entail?
That would fall under, before we took the break, you asked about like the sustainability.
Okay.
So there is a group, they're Canada-wide. They deal closely with First Nation communities in trying to push clean energy initiatives. So there is one...
Like the solar lighting.
Like the solar lighting could fall under that. Excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay.
So there is... they've dealt with one First Nation group in British Columbia. I believe it's on Vancouver Island. I don't want to pronounce the name because I know I'm going to butcher it. But they went completely solar, the community, with aid from this group. They used to be diesel-generated power. So now they got almost entirely the whole project was help funded through this group. This group deals with a lot of government and private donors that help try to push these certain initiatives. So now that this territory has been completely solar now, and
Is it a large territory? Is it as big as Kahnawake?
No, it's not as big as Kahnawake.
No, I didn't think so.
Kahnawake is, probably one of the biggest, and population also. Maybe not so much size, but it's the population that, I think in the British Columbia there, the reserve I'm talking about, it could be maybe 350 homes around that, or 300 homes.
So it's sort of on a small scale?
It's on a small scale.
And is this the first one that they worked with?
That's, that's the one that's got recognition. CBC just released something before the holidays about it. I mean, you can look it up online there about the British Columbia First Nation solar, all solar kind of generated now, and you'll find the information on there. Right now, they're currently working with a group with the First Nations in Labrador, almost like northern Labrador, doing the same thing, going from diesel to solar. So that was something I'm hoping. It is almost like a selection process. They talk with different groups. It kind of had to do like an application process and all that kind of stuff. So I should be hearing back from them hopefully by March to see if, I would be selected to attend the workshops. That's where you would be networking with different communities, networking with the different agencies involved in helping fund projects like this. I spoke with them about some of my initiatives there, and they seemed really excited to...
Are these Indigenous people, or they're just business people who are helping?
No, a lot of them are from different Indigenous reserves.
Oh, okay.
And in conjunction with different business people, different government organizations. So it's a whole group of diverse people.
They would be like getting funding. They would know where to attain funding.
They would know where to find the funding, where different initiatives are. They can even connect you to certain groups.
Interesting.
That maybe could supply at a maybe discounted rate, things like that. So they really work with the First Nations that go there to try to push these initiatives.
Good. I'm going to change gears again.
Okay.
So you sit on the KCR main table, and around the end of January, there was a meeting. What was discussed, and anything positive?
Well, I was only there for the
environment, yeah.
The environment portion. I did have a medical appointment to see about my foot.
Oh, how is it?
It's better. It's healed now, so.
Maybe you need solar energy.
Maybe. Put one just on my back.
I mean.
So yeah, at the main table, I wasn't quite sure what was discussed. I wasn't there, so I would only speak about on the environment portion, which was, the rec bay came up, and we asked pretty much with the asbestos issue there to see if they had any kind of technical support that could aid in this, because it's
what about monetary resources?
Well, that's
that's always a thing.
Yeah, that's always. I mean, it would be nice whether they want to or not, but because these pipes, they're everywhere. They're not just here. They're all over the place. That this is probably an issue that they need to be made aware of too, because it could be sprouting up all over the country, not just on First Nations territories, but in
pipes,
cities.
What are you speaking of?
The ACM piping there, the asbestos piping.
We're back to asbestos. Okay.
Yeah, well, that's kind of kind of what we were just discussing with the KCR table.
So are they aware of this issue? And
I think it's starting to sprout up different places. Some of them heard about it, some not so much yet. But it's going to be something probably at least in the next 20 years, once it starts becoming more prevalent with replacing these things, that there's going to be,
and was this done only on First Nations territories, or it was done
widespread?
Yeah,
because at the time there were those ACM pipes that was supposed to be the miracle, miracle material, so it was put everywhere.
And what does ACM stand for?
Well, I know it just has like the kind of abbreviation of the piping, that's like for the sewer, your sewer pipes or. Okay,
there's a winter meeting coming up. I guess it's in a couple of weeks, February 19th, 18th. What's on the agenda, do you know?
Well, I was going to just bring up some of my points that we just talked about today.
Okay. Of course, good old land allotments. Probably the asbestos.
Probably the asbestos would be touched on more that day also. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, that's the day.
I would think, I read it somewhere. It's just from, my memory. My goodness, my memory is not that good, if you can see. My God, what was it now? The residency law.
Yeah. I guess that's gonna be brought up to that day. I don't know if anything with like membership also. That's Gus's domain.
You mean the S3?
The S3 issues. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be brought up and then that night, but I believe the residency aspect will be on for sure. And I'm just trying to remember.
Oh, it's okay. I'm sure it'll be released soon. Yeah. But I did read it briefly, and I just wanted to touch on it a bit. Okay, there's a Joe Warodu survey online until February 10th, which I did answer this morning. It was, I don't know about good questions, but it sort of covered everything that people are talking about right now. I'm not a frequent visitor to Joe Warodu, but I worked on it before, and with different people and with the environment also, even to find out like what we're going to do up there. Do we need more laws? With the way things are, and I think that is something we should really look into. I mean, people say, "Oh, no, we don't need laws up there." Well, yeah, you need laws up there, and the laws that apply here certainly apply in Joe Warodu.
Yeah,
I don't know if people don't understand that, or they, some people just go there to have a good time. I don't understand.
But it's one thing you can have a good time,
Of
but you
course.
got to be kind of
You gotta be conscious and responsible.
In the last few years too, we've been seeing like an increase of break-ins in cabins. So it
Yeah.
kind of really is now pushing the question that there was no, I'll say, quote unquote, laws up there for so long that now it just seems that it's kind of almost forcing our hand to start implementing some even rules up there, to start.
I mean, there are policies, there's guidelines, but they're only guidelines. There's no.
There's none of the like enforcement or the
No.
I don't want to say punitive measures.
Well, I
but
think sometimes
there's
there
gotta
has to be.
There's
in
got to
this
be a
day and
consequence.
age. Yeah.
Like
I mean, it's supposed to be a refuge. You go up there, you relax. It's so close, yet it's so far. It's so different from here.
Yeah.
Yet it's not that different. And now.
No, and it's it's like I don't want to have like a Wild West kind of
No, of course not.
feeling to it, and because everybody just wants to go up there and, like you said, relax and get away from the things that are here, but all the things that are here are starting to happen up there now. So where do we go from here? And that's something I think the community's input would help out a lot, because if majority of everybody wants some sort of kind of laws up there, that kind of speaks volumes. Suppose if we just kind of went in there and said, okay, now from this day on, like you're not getting slap on the hands, there's going to be actual consequences. So that's something that I think the community has to decide on too,
I think so too.
How they want to view, or how what their future goals of Joe Rodo is, how they want to see it in 10 years and 15 years and 30 years. That was another thing I was looking at talking about too with the Joe Rodo committee. Again, I know we've talked about kind of no development, but how would these kind of solar lights essentially work over there, if that's something people wouldn't mind seeing, on some of the main roads there? Because I've been there before, and you walk around at night, it's nice, but it's really dark too, and there's people who will be racing around, and they only see you at the last minute. Also, in terms of some of these solar lights, there's some aspects that they have in the radius around, you can possibly connect to Wi-Fi. So then I thought, for emergency situations, maybe have something at the caretaker's office, a pole number. I'm at pole 3. I need help. It's an emergency. So, things like that down the road. I don't know how the community would feel about things like that.
Okay, Cody, we'll hold that thought and we'll go to the break. And we're back. And we're talking with, it is MCK Friday, and we are speaking with Chief Cody Diabo. And we were just speaking about the situations and policies and different laws that we should, or I guess we thought we should incorporate in the Joe Rodo territory. So getting back to Cody. Cody, would you like to continue on that or switch gears to something else?
No, I think we covered that pretty well. That's that's something again that the community's got to decide if that's the direction we need to go. Then we'll cross that bridge when we get to that point.
Okay, so speaking of bridges, there's an art contest coming up for the Mercier Bridge from JCCBI, which is Jacques Cartier and Champlain Bridges Incorporated. That's this is going to be, I think, the second year this is going to happen. Am I correct?
I believe second. Yeah.
So this is an art contest, and it's going to be on the federal side of the bridge. There's going to be
there's supposed to be, I don't know, if it's like plaques they're supposed to be visible there, and they wanted to get local artists involved in that process.
That's really interesting also. MCK also hired an Indian Day School Settlement Coordinator. What is that all about?
Well, I believe it was, again, just from the influx of, I don't want to say people registering for it, but
people applying
for it. I think it was a lot more than maybe was anticipated in the beginning. So there's a coordinator who's been hired to try to alleviate some of the not pressure per se.
Concerns?
Concerns. Because right now it was all with Vernon Goodleaf. He was kind of, the technician kind of holding that down. So to alleviate some of that pressure from him and help him out where he needs. So that hopefully things, not that they're not rolling right now, but hopefully things can go smoother.
As I understand, there's been people who have applied and received their applications back because they didn't use the right name.
Yeah, I know that was brought up before, I think, with Cattery School. I think on the federal side, they have like a certain name for it. So they're not like accepting when you put Cattery School.
Well, it wasn't Cattery School at the time. you know?
They have some other name for it that,
But
over here we always knew it as Cattery.
But right on the front of the application form, it tells you to go to the website, and it's going to say you're going to go down to from Alberta and British Columbia and whatever. When you get to Kahnawake, it's going to tell you the school, and then it's going to say the name that it's known as now would be Cattery.
Yeah.
So you would know it would be Kahnawake in RC Indian Day School, which would be the school I went to.
Yeah.
So you would have to write the right name. So I think it's good to have a coordinator so that people will get this information, because you're looking, and it's such a large document.
Yeah.
Even though you don't fill out every page, but it's a large document. And then if you're going through all that, and then you say, okay, this is the name. So you really have to read it and concentrate and make sure you put all your thoughts down. And
yeah, because I think it's also in response to, because I had heard a few people tried calling like the number on the application, but it was minimum 45-minute wait. So this is to try to help people locally to get the answers without having to wait so long on the phone. Because in the federal side, they're taking calls from all across Canada, so if we have somebody here who, can answer those questions for you, that's what I would suggest to do instead of maybe calling, or they'll direct you on what you need to do. But
there's a lot of information on the website. So people, if you have a computer, go to the website, and if you don't understand, well, you can go see, I think it's Connie Mush got this job.
Yeah. Or call her.
I
don't know.
Monday, right? She starts?
I thought she started this week. I believe she was maybe more just like introduction.
It's like orientation for her.
So probably be full swing there coming this week.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about the residency law. The other evening you had a meeting. Well, not you, but the people in charge, I guess Gus, February 6th. I was just wondering if it was successful and if you know how many attended.
That I don't know offhand. No, that would, again, that's more of her ballpark figure. Right now I kind of know what's sort of going on all across the board, but not exact details. So that will probably be discussed on the community meeting there on February 18th. So if anybody has any questions at that point.
Okay. What was the other thing I was going to ask you? Okay, now that you've been on council since October of last year, how has your normal routine changed, or has it changed?
Well, it's changed for the better. Well, because I was used to doing shift work for so long, so now it's to actually get onto a schedule from a Monday to a Friday, somewhat, because you're never really not working. You get emails in all hours of the night. You got to read things when you're at home. You don't get a chance to read them at the office, and there's a lot of reading. So it's getting we're getting more accustomed to it. Myself and my family, we tend to try to leave work at work, or weekends I try to spend as much time with them as possible, because during the week I am maybe more preoccupied, or my mind's not necessarily focused on home life.
That's really hard to take it off your mind. Let me just tell you. I've well, anyway, it's not an easy task.
Yeah,
So your life has changed a bit.
Yeah, more or less.
It's all like time management.
Yeah, and like I said before, you going from working shift work, for almost 10 years to actually being able to go to bed at 10 o'clock and waking up at 7. It's nice, not
Good.
you're working from 10 till 7 and now you're sleeping half the day away.
Have you gotten used to the procedure at the table?
I guess you could say yes. It's just different procedures. I guess, things were done a certain way, processes are, that's something that I'm not quite, 100% with, they always say, things kind of take longer in politics, where in
Definitely.
my mind, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if something comes up, we should deal with it and then move on. But it's, something that kind of drags on for a couple of weeks before it can be kind of finalized.
Yeah, because everybody has to have their input and their opinion and, whatever. So it does take a long time. It's not as if you're just conversing with one person. You're conversing with 11 besides yourself. So
yeah,
it's a daunting task. Okay, another question was, excuse me, I must be coming down with something again. Were you prepared for all the political challenges facing Kahnawake on a daily basis?
I don't know if you could say prepared per se, because I don't know if anybody can technically once you get in there.
Okay, maybe prepared is the wrong word. Were you aware of a lot of the political challenges?
Not in its entirety.
No,
once you get in, you start seeing, it's kind of like a big engine, that there's all different moving parts and, only certain things kind of hit the forefront because that's, the most prevalent. But then there's underlying, things that maybe not get missed or whatnot, but it's not really on people's radar because of the bigger issues, asbestos took over a whole bunch of things, like S3 is taking over a whole bunch of things and, so those kind of things, and then upcoming works with the Mercier Bridge and now Wreck Bay, so that was something that, I heard about before, like the Wreck Bay rehabilitation, but then now that you're in, it's, and as environment, that's what's on the forefront for environment, but then you have all these other things that are pressing. So it's something to get accustomed to. Again, I don't think anybody can necessarily be fully prepared, once you get at that level and at that stage, to start the dialogue and start talking about it, and having to think, what's best, and then again, your version of what's best may not be the same version as another counselor, so it's almost like...
So there's a lot of discussion, sometimes debate. Until you to come to a recognition of whatever you're speaking about.
Yeah.
I always thought that was interesting myself. Okay, we'll get back to the Blue Collar Park. We have a few minutes left. There was a survey that took place a couple of weeks ago. So there was 269 people that took part and 162 in person at the services complex when they had the kiosk. 81% supported the move to the Blue Collar Park, and they cited safety, location, and community need. So I thought that was very, very good. When Chief Lindsay LeBarn was here a few weeks ago, he had said that there was some kind of, some people were not for it, and I wondered why. Like, if you look at it, it's outlived its usefulness right now.
Yeah.
It's growing. The town is growing. We're going to need more buses. We're going to need more trucks. We're going to need more snowplows. So what's going to happen? Where are we going to put it? And I thought that was just good for him to, come on and explain a little bit about it. And also before that, the Grand Chief was on, and he was also talking about it, that there was some people that weren't for it. And, but it's... People don't like change.
Yeah. And
and I think that's one thing we have to get used to in this day and age. Like, if you're going to have solar lighting and electric powered buses, I mean, we got to get on with the times. We're going to grow. Everything's got to grow with us.
Yeah. And that's, why I'm kind of not going, say, full force with these projects and saying we're changing everything or we're converting all our buses,
No, really.
So it's the baby steps to get, people accustomed to the idea and the look of it, and then to know this is the direction that we're heading in.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with the Blue Collar Park, and I could see why maybe because it's such a drastic change right up front that, it might scare some people, and, they're right in their concerns. But it's, overall, that's something that, we kind of need the area that it's in now. It's not suitable for it anymore. It's a high traffic area. Sorry.
What is that a question or okay? We've come to the end of our time. Thank you very much, Cody, for joining us. So, thank you for sharing some time with me, AJ, and my guest. Up next with the 1 o'clock news is Paul Grafe, Skana, Dano Ona.